Hi, today we have Mr. Gajanan Nabar of Cleanmax Solar. He's a CEO there. So we'll be talking about the solar rooftops challenges with him. He's one of the biggest players in the segment. So Mr. Nabar, if you can explain us what sort of challenges rooftop is facing right now in the current scenario.
Sure, Mr. Anilesh. As there are opportunities, obviously there will be counter challenges. I think one of the big challenge that any of the solar developers would face is the congruency between the center policies and the state policies. Center is giving a huge push. We have a target of 100 gigawatt of solar generated electricity by 2022, next 5 years. And but you always face some challenges in the state at the field level, where each state would have slightly different policies or slightly different interpretation of how the policy guidelines has been set, and that sometimes delay the effectiveness or execution of projects. Something related to net metering or how tariffs are being provided and all that. So if there is a congruency, if it's brought between the center, very solid policy towards solar, and is all matched by the states, I think that would be, really helpful for the solar industry. Second problem also is about the duty and lack of clarity about some of the duty structures, especially with now there is talk about anti-dumping, and those are the thoughts which are, or talks which are in the environment, which kind of take the focus away from actually execution, for both, for the customer as well as for the developer.
The solar park developers, they are into a catch-22 situation because of the duty thing which you are referring to. And another challenge which they face is the continuous dipping of the tariff. So, do you also feel the same pinch here?
Yeah, I mean, because most of us, the solar manufacturers, import the big component is the panels. What you see here, they all imported mostly from China, and so for the last, up to let's say June of this year, for the last 14-15 quarters, the prices of modules were dipping, and that's what you're seeing as a reflection in the solar tariffs right across India. But from June of around that time, second quarter of this year, second quarter of the calendar year, what we have seen is the prices have started actually notching up, and they are significantly have gone up in that sense, to be mitigated. I think with our experience, we've been the largest, doing more than 200 customers. We are able to work through some of these challenges in terms of the contract language. But still, I think in overall environment, it remains that there is this little bit of question mark. How are we buying at the right price? Whether there will be anti-dumping? None of us solar players could say that we are in for short term. Everybody has signing.
So now, but there is another challenge which we anticipate and see, that there is a public sector demand, and then there is the private sector demand. PSUs and enterprises, they need to get their rooftop done.
Tender was concluded recently, so certainly there is a big takeoff in public sector. We are seeing an uptick in the sense that customer wants to replicate their success. The only challenge here, there are a couple of challenges. The one challenge is, again I said earlier, is am I buying at the right price? They keep reading and they believe that the tariffs are going to go down, so why not wait a little more? So that delays the decision making to a certain extent. Since it's a very attractive market as of now, there are a lot of players or wannabe players in here, and I'm not sure whether everybody is playing for the long term. And my particular position would be, if you are talking to a customer for a 25-year contract, your customer has to put faith in you for 25 years. Let's start behaving as if we are long-term players, and when I say that, it reflects in everything, in our resources, in our contract language, in the way we'll approach prices and everything else.
The issue of debt. The banks are not ready to lend them money, and they are diluting their equities to raise funds. So, what is your experience? How is capital behaving in your sector?
I think since we've been very niche players, our focus has been corporates, OPEX based, rooftop. I think obviously banks also look at it in a way that their debt serviceability. Our debt serviceability is much better. So we have so far not obviously faced any headwinds in that sense. But obviously, as you know, we are also looking at Karnataka opportunity, which is pretty large, close to 200 megawatts going forward this year. And we are talking to multiple banks as well as NBFCs to service our, yeah. But the good part is our equity part is sorted out with Warburg Pincus line, which is obviously a public information. So I think the equity is sorted out, some of the debt portion is sorted out. But I think these are, I would say, quality problems with each player, I would say. I don't think it's a generic solar-based industry finance.
Yes. That's why this SECI type of PSU.
No, I think SECI is obviously coming up because I think again it's on the. I don't think the reason for SECI is way different than a corporate. When I say SECI is for pushing the public sector, because they also get benefit of tariff, slightly lower tariffs, 10 to 15% at least, and obviously you're doing green. You are helping the planet. So these two agendas are also there. It just happens because of the government mechanism where you could, there could be a dictum and people could just follow. Whereas in corporate, it's like I won't even say that every company there is one decision maker. Each location there is a decision maker, and everybody has to be bought in, and they have to buy into this idea of putting solar. So that's why it takes a little more lagged, and the kind of impact, even if you put the rooftop on a whole plant, and if it's a very large power consuming plant, the rooftop generation would make about 10 to 15% impact, because even if it is a large roof. So from standpoint of an operating person, this is not something which is like it would stop his production, or it's a decision that he has to make it today. Even if it differs, it's like just the notional loss in profit. So what our efforts are is that we're talking to more and more CEOs, more and more company leaders, corporate leaders, to convince that looking at the savings, you also getting on something which is sustainable. Look at what is happening with the challenges of pollution here in Delhi and around.